Now we're going to look at how to read and understand nutritional labels. They're on all products now. We often see these labels when we shop. However, do we really read them and really understand what they mean to us? We're going to look also at reviewing dietary styles and food safety issues of importance to our health and wellness. So let's get started on this. All right, let's start looking at knowing what you eat. And mostly what we're going to be focusing on here is nutritional labeling regulations that require that most food labels on all prepackaged foods carry a mandatory nutritional facts table listing calories and 13 key nutrients. But do we really know what it means, and what should I be looking for on a nutritional label? And I would really suggest you go to a grocery store and look at labels and compare. Now, there are some regulations on how labels are to be now. We might see these changes emerging in Canada. The nutrition fact table will show calories, the amount of fat, including saturated, trans fats, cholesterol, sodium, carbohydrates, fiber, sugar, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, vitamin C, and a specified amount of food. So calories measure the amount of energy that can be derived from food. So when we look at labels, the serving size is a specific amount of food. The daily values are based on recommendations for a healthy diet. You can check page 122, figure 5.3 for this example, and it's the one I have right here. It's important to check serving size, specifically when comparing products, as there's not a standard for serving size. You know, the thing I find really remarkable is you go out and buy a bag of chips and you look at the serving size and it says, 17 chips that's what this is all based on. But who eats 17 chips? Why isn't the portion size based on the whole bag of chips that most people will eat, or half a bag of chips? If you saw those numbers, you might think differently about having a whole bag of chips while you sit down and watch TV. And so it's really important when you look at that, you compare to see if are the numbers the same? Are we looking at the same comparators? And that's what's really important. Calories per gram list the number of calories per gram for fat, carbohydrate, and protein. Okay? So calories from fat. You get into a habit of calculating percentages of fat calories in food before buying or eating it. That's an important element. So total fat, it's easy to overload on fat. Saturated fat is the figure worth of a special attention, so you want to reduce that. Cholesterol, well, it's made by and contained in products of animal origin only. So if you're eating something that you think is more vegetarian based in the products including cholesterol, be aware that you're eating something that actually has animal product in it. Fiber. A high fiber food has 5 or more grams of fiber a serving. So if you're looking for your fiber in foods, look for high fiber foods. Calcium, high equals 200 milligrams or more, and good means at least 100 milligrams. Now sodium is the big one, for some people at least. Many foods contain sodium. Read the labels carefully to avoid excesses. For the age group 14 to 50, that's a big age group, mind you, the recommended sodium intake is about 2,000 milligrams. That's about a teaspoon worth of salt per day. And many of us are exceeding that by quite a bit. But what you may not be aware of is not just the food you're putting salt on your food with, it's the products that you're buying that have sodium built in for preserving or for taste. And you might be taking in an awful lot more than you think. Vitamins, these are the daily value of 10% of any vitamin makes a food a good source. So read for what vitamins are. Although there is no implementation date yet, the government in Canada is intending to make changes to the nutritional fact table on food labels, trying to make them more user-friendly and more informative, and getting companies to be more forthright in producing what it is that we're eating. Now, in terms of the way we eat, we don't all eat the same way. One, we come from different parts of the world, many of us, and so we have a different dietary requirements, or we've learned different dietary ways of creating food. Our dietary options are diverse. If you live in Toronto, you can go all over the place and find all manner of dietary options. So each type or each ethnic group cooks its own food, or cook their own food and have nutritional benefits and the potential drawbacks. All do. Yet all food guides recommend eating more carbohydrate-rich grains, vegetables, and fruits, and less high-protein meats and dairy. So, for example, we'll look at the Brazilian diet. 10 guidelines are based on 3 main themes. Eat fresh and minimally processed foods as the basis of each meal. Use oils, fats, and sugars and salts in moderation, and limit intake to ready-to-eat food and drink products. And that's a good general rule of thumb. Eat fresh, eat good. Avoid the things that we should be avoiding in produce food, and eat more of the kind of dietary requirements of meats, grains, and fruits and vegetables. Now, if we look at, by comparison, the Chinese diet. Mainland Chinese diet is high in carbohydrates, low in fat, and low in animal protein. And it's considered one of the healthiest in the world. Chinese food prepared in Canada, however, has more meat and sauces, and probably, I haven't been to China, but I would imagine I've had some Chinese students stay with us for a semester, and our Chinese food is not what they're used to seeing in China. So basing a Chinese diet on what Canada sees as Chinese diet is not the same. First Nations and Inuit and Métis food guide. Well, Health Canada has modified Canada's food guide for these groups of Canadians, while showing examples of both traditional and store-bought foods that are commonly available in both rural and remote locations. Our dining room here at the GDR in Owen Sound, and I think in Barrie and Orillia, they will also have examples of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis food, often produced as an example of a diverse dietary fare. The French diet, now it has both good and bad reputation, if you will. Traditional French cuisine, which includes rich, high-fat sauces and dishes, has never been considered particularly healthful. Despite a diet high in saturated fats, the French do have one of the lowest rates of coronary artery disease in the world. Fat consumption has risen, but French portions tend to be 1/3 to half the size of Canadian and American portions. And that brings up another issue here. It's not always just what you eat, it's the size, the portion size of what you eat. Okay, so now let's look at the Indian diet. Many dishes highlight healthful ingredients such as vegetables and legumes. Many also use what's known as ghee, which is a form of butter. Coconut oil or coconut oil, both are rich in harmful saturated fats. The Japanese diet, well, the traditional Japanese diet is very low in fat. It's also high in salted, smoked, and pickled food. If you've had a Japanese diet, it probably tastes very good, and it does. However, in terms of the overall health of the diet, the high sodium levels puts it in somewhat of a risk for some people. The Mediterranean diet, this is a plant-based and rich in fruits, vegetables, and legumes, cereals, wine, and olive oil. Regions along the Mediterranean have a lower incidence of heart disease. Mexican diet, this cuisine is served in Mexico, features rice, corn, beans, which are low in fat and high in nutrients. The dishes that Canadians think of as Mexican are far less healthful because they include cheese and sour cream, which are very high in fat. It's worth noting that Canadian or North American view of diets of other countries isn't exactly the way it is. And so we tend to North Americanize the diets, which brings other elements to it. The Southeast Asian diet, the rich variety of bamboo shoots, bok choy, cabbage, mangoes, papaya, and cucumbers provide a sound nutritional base for this diet. However, coconut oil and milk used in many of the sauces are high in fat. The use of MSG and pickled foods means sodium content is also pretty high. And then we can look at the U.S. diet. In 2010, the U.S. My Pyramid was replaced with My Plate, a new food guide that has been designed to encourage Americans to eat in a healthy way. The new guidelines recommend the half plate should be filled with fruit and vegetables, and that half the grains should be whole grains, and that people should drink fat-free and low-fat milk. The plate image discourages oversized portions. Now, we've had more variations in diet, and the one that's gained a little traction even in our area here in Owen Sound is called the 100-mile diet. Elisa Smith and J.B. McKinnon wrote the 100-mile diet about eating food grown within a 100-mile radius of their Vancouver apartment for 1 year. Around the world, people are beginning to understand that supporting local food producers helps the local economy, reduces greenhouse gases, and helps people eat more seasonally and connected to their communities. Now, there's another program that has emerged. It's called the Meal Exchange. And the Meal Exchange started in 1993 by Rahul Raj. And he's in an organization that works to eliminate the root cause of hunger and poverty by engaging students in volunteer work. The students involved in the Meal Exchange help by donating food, educating others about causes of hunger, creating volunteer opportunities that address hunger-related issues, and identify and implementing student solutions. So it's been we have lots of variation of food options should we want to look at how we eat and what we could be eating. So how should we know about vegetarian diets? What should we know about them? Some people are already vegetarian or are thinking about it. 12% of younger Canadians follow a vegetarian or mostly vegetarian diet. Other variations include a lacto-vegetarian, a lacto-ovo-vegetarian, and lacto-ovo-pesco-vegetarian. You'll find those in your textbook. But a vegetarian diet has proven health benefits. Vegetarians' cholesterol levels are low. They are seldom overweight. They are less likely to have heart disease, and they have lower incidences of breast and colon and prostate cancers, high blood pressure, and osteoporosis. Vegetarians should pay special attention to getting enough protein. I mentioned earlier in the part 1 about complementing amino acids. Also about getting enough iron, vitamin B12, calcium, and vitamin D. Fast foods, nutrition on the run as it were. Some fast food restaurants now offer healthier foods, but there's still many problems with fast food. Many fast food meals give you half your daily energy requirements, but only 1/4 of your daily vitamin and mineral requirements. Almost half of the calories in a typical fast food meal come from fat, and that's outrageous. However, it tastes good, I get it. Recommended sodium intake is 2,000 milligrams a day. A typical fast food meal gives you about 1,500 milligrams of sodium. So you've got almost your entire sodium content for the day out of one takeout from fast food. Campus cuisine. Healthy food choices can sometimes be a challenge in college and university, where cafeteria and food outlets can be suspect at times. The two top influences on food choices are price and convenience. Food options have been shifting in recent years to more healthy options, in addition to adding nutrition education to better allow students to make informed choices. I don't think it matters how many ways we look at French fries with cheese and gravy, it's not necessarily going to get healthier. Ethnic choices and vegetarian and vegan options are also being made available for students in these environments, so that's a good start. So now we're going to touch base now on food safety, things like pesticides, irradiation, and genetic engineering. The majority of pesticides we consume are natural and not added by farmers or food processors. Commercial pesticides have billions of dollars. Commercial pesticides save billions of dollars, but they may also endanger human health and life. Many new terms are being introduced into consumers regarding food safety, such as organic, irradiation, GMOs, which is genetically modified organisms, GEs, genetically engineered organisms. Concerns from consumers and environmental groups around the world about the potential hazards of GMOs has resulted in mandatory labeling of such foods in a number of countries. As of yet, Canada does not require labeling of GMO foods, so consumers do not know if the foods they are purchasing and eating have been modified. Additives, the risks versus the benefits. Additives provide numerous benefits. However, some additives may pose a risk to eaters. Additives like nitrates that are found in bacon and sausages and luncheon meats may enhance the look or the life of the food, but there are other reactions that create health risks for us. So what causes food poisoning? Well, salmonella is a bacterium that contaminates many foods. Eating that contaminated food, which results in salmonella poisoning, which causes diarrhea and vomiting. If you've ever had salmonella, you probably not highly recommend it. Campylobacter jejuni may cause even more stomach infections than salmonella. It's found in milk, water, and in some foods, and it causes severe diarrhea and has been implicated in growth of stomach ulcers. Fresh, maintained, and stored in a proper way is what's most important for our food. Bacteria can also cause illness by producing toxins in the food. Staphylococcus aureus is one of the most common culprits. Botulism is caused by the Clostridium. Botulism and improper home canning procedures that are most common causes. Not sealing processed food that we produce and can ourselves very well, allowing air to be affecting it. Food allergies, we have all sorts of them, whether it's cow's milk, eggs, seafood, wheat, soybean, nuts, seeds, chocolate, all have been identified as common triggers for food allergies. Symptoms may include sneezing, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, dizziness, hives, rapid heartbeat. Symptoms may not develop for 72 hours, making it difficult to pinpoint which food is responsible. We really need to watch out what we eat. Being conscious and thoughtful about what we eat enables us to best be healthy, stay healthy, and be successful. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck. Here we go, keeping it up. Bye now.